Step out.
To live stream the meeting. Setting up.
No, it's coming through your stuff. The folks came in,
Yeah.
your text folks came in, and that's what they're just working on right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's streaming.
Live stream the meeting. All right. So what
I'll
do I
hit
need-
record.
Yeah.
No, it's coming through your stuff. Your text folks came in, and that's what they're just working on right now.
All right, Dale, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, then I've successfully muted my audio on my screen. So I can go back to Zoom. Meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Recording. It says it's recording.
Yep, I started that.
Okay. Then let's return to this.
Whom I would know. On the levy.
So we just need to get you out of the picture there, Dale, so that we can bring the full picture back in.
Well, let's see.
That's mine, so maybe I just have to pin mine. Yep, that's what I gotta do. All right, Mr. Brian, whenever you're ready. Thank you, Dale.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, everybody. And before we go around and do our introductions and whatnot, I first want to thank Susan and Jonathan very much for not only hosting us, but giving us the behind the scenes tour and showing us where things will be happening on October 19th. And for Dave giving us the tour, you have a wonderful CEO, both from personal working with him and just meeting with him today and taking us around. We're very privileged to be able to have this kind of access to a space like this. So thank you very much.
And the cool part about Dave is, I don't know if he told you, but he's president of the
Mhm.
Forward Theater Board. He's been in Madison for less than 3 years.
Wonderful. Great asset for you guys. All right, well, why don't we go around the room and we'll reintroduce ourselves because now we're publicly having our meeting. We did this once with Dave, so he understood who was in the room. You guys will go around. John, we'll start with you and just your name and where you're from.
John Johnson from Madison. Bill Bishop, Lancaster.
Mary Reinders, Mount Horeb. Jane Herring, Kenosha. Charlotte Garcia, Milwaukee.
Susan Lip, Merrimack.
Brian Kelsey, Door County.
Lynn Ritchie, Land O'Lakes. Jennifer Schwarzkopf, Fitchburg.
Karen Ann Hoffman, Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
John Potter, Hudson. Matt Wallach, McFarland.
Rafael Salas, Ripon.
George Sugros, Arts Board staff.
Kim Burrell, Arts Board staff. Terry Egan, Arts Board staff. Sharon Geshko, Arts Board staff.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm glad you guys were all able to be here. We're missing Denora and we will miss her. This was just not a date that was going to be able to work for her. So she is missed. But it's nice to have everyone else here. I think we have a lot of important. And Gerard, I'm sorry, because I knew Gerard might be coming. Sorry about that. I know we've got a lot to discuss today, especially as we're talking about the official kickoff event of the 50th anniversary celebration. Our moniker 50 and 50 is not holding true anymore, so we can celebrate we're 49 and 50, so we're a year younger if you want to look at it that way, or you can take the 49, take the news as you will. But with that said, is there a motion to approve the agenda, or do we want to do that just by acclamation? If there's no additions, let's approve the agenda by acclamation, and we'll move into the minutes, and I'll pass it over to Jane.
I would move that the annual meeting minutes for May 6th be approved if there are any additions, changes.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Hi.
And then for the minutes of May 6th, the quarterly meeting. And any changes, well, first, I move that they be approved. And are there any changes? Addition? Okay, I'm looking for a second.
Hoffman, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Great, thanks, Jane. We'll move into the logistics for our upcoming meeting. As you know, our December meeting has traditionally, if not always, been in Milwaukee, so that's coming up on December 15th. The meeting after that is traditionally as part, well, I would say since the transition into tourism, we've really, 2012, we've worked to have our March meeting at WIGCOT, the Governor's Conference on Tourism. So I'm happy to say that that is happening on March 12th, and George will have more information, I'm assuming, in his report on the connection between the two at that event. Our May 10th, which includes our annual event, will be back here in Madison. And then September 6th and 7th is the out-of-state meeting or the outstate meeting, which will be a discussion point as to locations. George has done a great job in having where we've been, I think since 2000. Well, the one I looked at goes back a long ways. So there's areas of the state where we haven't been in a while. And so that is taking into consideration, as well as if there's anyone on the board who is saying, I would love to host a meeting in my area. Don't hesitate to ever raise that to show off the arts in your area. And if it fits into our schedule of where we need to be outstate and it's not a place where we're replicating where we just were. But it's always great to get arts board members being able to show their home to us, similar to what Karen Ann, who was postponed because of COVID, but not stopped. We were able to do that. And then again, in December 6th, perhaps 13th in Milwaukee, 2024. So that is our upcoming meetings. If you want to add that to your schedule.
We'd love you to select out September and December if you can.
So you want us to look at the 6th, 7th and 13, 14?
Right. Just decide amongst yourselves which is the better of the two for you in September. It may be impacted by who wants to host, but
Yep.
If we can get it locked in from here, then you get it on your calendars and you don't have to worry about citing anything as a conflict during those days.
And it's absolutely not required that a board member hosts. We have gone to communities where we've had former board member, it's not a requirement. Most importantly, I think, is where we're being seen in communities in which need us to be seen within the state as well.
Are there any areas that we should be looking at more than other areas?
Well, there have been two so far that have come forward. One is the sort of Ashland, Washburn, that area. And the other is the Racine Kenosha area.
Last time it was 2012 was the last time we were in the Bayfield Ashland area as the arts board. Now Karen and George, trips do go up there, but as a full board, it's been since 2012 in Racine and Kenosha. 2003. So there's out there. Do people have preferences between the September 6th and 7th and 13th and 14th? And I'll selfishly say the 13th and 14th is always better for me because last night was opening night for our 5th show and I was not there. And that's going to happen next year as well.
If we found ourselves in Racine Kenosha, Jane, which would of those two sets of dates would you prefer?
I did the 13th, 14th also. Because I get back from up north like yesterday, so.
I know this is a ways away. We're talking a year from now, but does that seem to work with people's schedules?
Yes.
So we can pencil those dates in right now. Great. And then Milwaukee, do we want to talk at all about what hotel situations might be like versus the 6th versus the 13th? Or does that matter as we try to look at?
There may be some impact, but we had to move it this year.
Yep, absolutely.
But if we want to return to the 6th, the 6th, that's fine.
I would say I personally prefer the 6th earlier in it rather than later.
Me too. And I think it would work better with hotels.
And what,
Negotiating.
I look at weather, hotel, like just things that are going on. So everyone okay?
Yes.
St. Nick's can have Mary Gilo host us out in Cedarburg area so we can put our shoes back out. Karen Hand, we talked about it yesterday.
Yes.
We got chocolate in our shoes
Bring
on St. Nick's Day.
shoes.
On the 6th. She always has something going on that first Friday.
Okay.
Just so you know what the deal is.
It's penciled in for now. Let's just say that we, December 6th. Yeah.
2024.
2024. You're very welcome. December 6th, 2024. Yeah, you don't even have to go that far. You've got.
Be alive.
All right, panel chair assignments. This is the coveted part of the work we do. And for those of you who have signed up to be panel chairs or backups, you know how important this work is and how some of us will fight tooth and nail to get a certain panel if possible. John Potter.
So sad.
So wonderful. So the first one coming up is creation and presentation. Those grants are not due yet. They're due at the beginning of October. Yes, and so there is not a definitive date in November. Karen, do you have any idea?
The 16th and 17th. So whoever is up for doing this, the big full year application panel will meet either Thursday or Friday, and I'd be.
It's the full year this year.
Yeah, I'd be happy to hear what you prefer. I'm happy to work with both of them. And this year it's presenting organizations.
What did, we're looking
Can
at?
you explain the presenting versus theater versus just so that
Presenting would be like the Overture Center or the Performing Arts Series at the Reedsburg High School and everything in between. So those that bring in artists on tour and present them in performance to their communities with their communities.
this is Zoom.
It is. They're all Zoom right now.
So the first date we're looking at is
Either the 16th or 17th of November. Thursday or Friday.
is willing to commit and just have both of those dates. So Jenna's got her hand up as the lead on that.
I can be a backup on the 17th. It was,
All right, well, let's put Matt down as a backup on the 17th. If it falls on that day, is there anybody who can be backup on the 16th?
could do a backup on the 16th.
All right, thank you all so much.
All right, then on November 21st, we already have Karen Ann with the Woodland Indian Arts Program, so we're set there. And then we're going to jump into 2024, where our first one is going to be Arts and Education on April 24th. Is anybody? Mary and Jane? Do you guys have a preference for lead or backup?
Doesn't matter to me.
I've not done it before. It's-
You love it.
Yeah, you will. Maybe I'll back you up if you
There you
want to
go.
take a
All right,
look.
so
Yeah.
let's put Jane,
Sounds good.
and then, thank you, Mary, for that.
Something too with that. I just realized
with
Do
that.
you
go
wanna
to
do-
Washington every year to support the arts and education nationally.
Susan as a backup as well.
Okay, great.
Wonderful, thank you. And then on April 25th, we have local arts. Bill Mitchell. And then folk arts apprenticeship on the 26th. I love that one. I would be happy to do it, but I am happy to allow someone.
I haven't done one.
Perfect, so let's have Raphael, and then I'd be happy to back Raphael. up.
The folk arts apprenticeship.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And who is the backup to local art?
Oh, no, I did not. Do we have someone who's willing to back up local arts? Bill was so committed. So Chella, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Invite everybody who wants to come. These are all Zoom. And so you are welcome to come in, take a peek, look at how it runs, all of that good stuff.
Especially if you haven't done one before,
Oh, yeah.
it might be,
But I have a conflict all the April dates, but if you need anything in November, tell me.
wonderful. Thank you.
Sharon, are there past panels on the YouTube channel? So if somebody wants to go and just see the sort of rhythm of the day.
Yep.
YouTube channel would be a place to go.
Wonderful. All right, we're going to move into the next part of our agenda, which is the standing committee reports, and we're going to start with Jen Schwarzkopf. And before we do that, I want to thank you last night for the delicious meal and the tour and the time you spent giving us the behind the scenes.
I love to share it with you guys and thank you for always being so supportive. I know it's the third restaurant that you've all come to. I'm sorry to keep you on your toes.
Following you.
Yeah, it's
Oh, we're
fantastic.
just having it.
Yeah, I'll happily feed you forever. And I'm sorry for being late this morning. That was completely my bad. So please forgive me. I have been here many times and it is an amazing space. So I'm looking forward to being here for the 50th. Go ahead.
What you need to do.
Covers me.
We have the election of the nominating committee today. And so as you included in your materials was the list of who's up for reappointment this year. So I'm happy to say that our current nominating committee is free and clear of those three people. And so if they wanted to continue their service, Jennifer, Mary, and Susan, then we would welcome that. And if somebody wants to step off for whatever the reason, we could find somebody else who'd like to join on.
Or if anyone wants to join, right?
Sure. Go more than 3.
So I'm in it.
I'm in it.
Okay.
Right, so it's Mary and
Want
Jen,
to?
Susan,
Okay.
wonderful. Do we have a minimum that we need on the nominating committee
Well,
or?
3 was the minimum, but if anybody else wants to join, now's a good time to say so.
Hearing none, I think we have our nominating committee set.
Sometimes we need ideas.
Okay, I would.
Yeah.
I like to give my.
Thank you. Lynn.
That's good. That's good.
Right, so we should move in second and all that good stuff.
Is there a motion to approve the nominating committee as presented? Wonderful. Jane, seconded by Chella. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not opposition or abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. We will now move into the budget and finance portion, and we'll pass it to John and George.
Thanks, Brian. First of all, I'd like to thank Mary for agreeing to serve on the committee. We'll start that shortly. And then the committee consisting of Susan and Gerard, myself, joined by Brian and George and Karen and Dale, met on August 8th. And we reviewed the end of fiscal year 23, budget for 24. And I would have to say, this is, I think, the best place we've been in years at this time. In that the funding is secure for this fiscal year and the DOA has made its allocations, which we, for the most part, agree with the possible exception of overhead expenses. So we're really in, I think, the best shape we've been in a while. And I would ask George to review the meeting. The budget that was sent out was prepared by the DOA. So we'll present at our next meeting our own version of that.
Right. Yeah, and DOA does allocate the indirect costs. And the reason John raised it is as we enter fiscal 24, the state of Wisconsin pays for the 3 staff people that are paid on the state side and the fringe. And now the only other thing that gets paid for by the state in operations is indirect costs. So there was a moment when they had to pay for travel to Washington for the advocacy piece, but Americans for the Arts isn't doing that anymore. So that's no longer necessary. But this is just an indication to you all that that's where we are in the state side. The state is, as always, wants its money to go out in grants, the majority of its money to go out in grants. But what that also means is that the feds, the amount of money we get from the feds gets eaten away by costs that would normally, you would think, as a state agency, they should pick up. Now, we have other state agency representatives around the table who comfort me by saying, well, you're not the only ones. We're like this, so that's always good to hear. But that is a real challenge, I think, to be a state agency and have the telephones and the computers and the travel, et cetera, all paid for by the feds. So it's important to note that here. As John said, we will have the format that you're used to in the next meeting. And the 2 formats that you have here, the first one is for fiscal 23. And so the colorful top shows you that we are $158,000 that we need to move from fiscal 24 into fiscal 23 to close out fiscal 23. 148,000 of that is what we were hoping for out of joint finance, the match. So even though it's for 23, it came into our 24 budget, which is why it looks like this. So in other words, the $148,100, which we got as match to fiscal 23 in DOA's system is tagged as fiscal 24. So that will go towards that 158. So they will need to move an additional $10,000+ from 24 state money into 23. Why is that important? First of all, I've been misstating the fact that if they're moving state money from 24 into 23, it's not like the federal money where we'll be able to backfill and we'd have that money again to spend. you move the state money out of 24 into 23, we have to deal with the fact that the things that will make our match on the state side will be the supplemental payments for both the 3 staff people, which would be a normal salary supplement, but then also this fiscal 24, there's a 27th pay period. So they would automatically supplement that, and that should bring us back up. So we transfer the 10 plus to 23, the salary supplements for 24 will bring the state match back up to where it needs to be. Yeah, and it's important that we note that this doesn't happen all that often, that there's a 27th pay period. And so that's the reason that there'll be more supplement in this year. Any questions about that status 24 to 23? If I can explain it more clearly, I'll try.
Not a question, but
Yeah.
I know a little bit about that extra paycheck, as well as there's a potential for a pay raise for staff. We are, all of that has to be approved by the legislature, but there's a legislative committee that has to approve that extra allocation of funds to come over. So we are, as an agency, quasi preparing if they don't, but that's just a sign of caution. I never say it's automatic.
Yeah. No,
George? I'm sorry.
that's important to note. So that, again, that's the other piece. So we didn't say that in what I said, which is we've got the money that we transferred over. There is a 3%, I think it is, raise. I don't know why the news media is saying 3, but 3 or 4% raise, which again, they'll supplement, right? So the state will supplement, but to John's point, there's a committee in the legislature that has to sign off on it before it becomes real.
Can I tag on to that? Are you,
One limit,
Sure.
just put one last piece on that. Remember, and I keep trying to designate this, 3 staff people on one side, state paid, supplemented by the state. Any increases that come to the 1 or 2 employees on the federal side, we have to supplement from what we already are getting from the federal government, which will mean we'll have less money to do the other things we would like to do on the federal side. But the state does not supplement federal positions. Right.
and the budget committee's talked about this, and I don't think it's any surprise, and I'm going to keep bringing it up so that we make sure that the 4 people who are staff are not just receiving whatever the base increases might be, but looking at the ranges in which their salaries sit and the appropriateness of where they are and the work that needs to be done to make these positions paid for the work they're actually doing at a better level. So I don't know if there's any work we need to do or what we need to keep in mind as we look at that, because I think you've got people in this room who will fight tooth and nail to make sure that that happens, so that you guys are adequately compensated for the work you're doing.
Well, and this goes back to, I think, the statement that I made before, which is it's nice if we're able to do it. And we've started the conversation with DOA, was mentioning it to Matt before. So we're having that conversation, but realize on the state side, where this money comes from, it's not physically there yet. Right. And so if they tell us how best to increase the state ops to reflect what you hope we can do, we'll bring that back to you.
Good. And if you need our support, please let us know what it is that we can do to back you up. So it doesn't sound like you're trying to go back to the honeypot yourselves, but that your governing board, in a sense, is the one saying this is what needs to happen.
In both these things, we say, first of all, thank you. We know you got our backs. So that's really good. And second of all, I think our people at DOA are thinking creatively with us about how we best do some of this stuff.
The second question I have about from budget standpoint is now with the match, we're not in the 1310 position. Does this mean that creation and presentation may be paid out in those of us who are fiscal year ending December may see a check in December the way it used to be processed, or are you seeing that coming in January? Because I think some of us need to be prepared to record 2 state transactions in one fiscal year. Because even if they deferred it, they're gonna be deferring it to the future if this stays the same. There have been years where we've gone with zero in a fiscal year budget, and then start the catch-up game. But just so that organizations are prepared for that, should it happen.
We are in a position where the December board meeting is on December 15th, right? So your approvals of creation and presentation will come that day. If we have everything we need from our grantees, checks can go out, right? So we don't have to wait until the next fiscal year or, the next calendar year to start that process. Again, as long as we have everything we need, and Karen wants to say something. I'm sure.
And as long as our friends at DOA are able to do that on top of everything else that
Sure.
they have. So, I mean, I always default to January.
That's
But I have
great.
Conversation.
I just want to prepare people should it be postmarked in fiscal year from an audit standpoint. I mean, people can choose if they're going to accrue, how they're going to book, but how an auditor would ask you to report that is different.
So I think with Karen's caveat, if, as long as we've got what we need and DOA can process it, December will still happen. If in fact that's not the case, DOA can't process, then it'll be January.
Wonderful.
But it will not be February and it will
Right.
not be March.
And that's what is very helpful. So as I go back to Door County and we have a meeting in 2 weeks or a week and a half for PAHA, there's stuff that I can report to prepare people to say, hey, this may happen, this may not happen, but it would be January, so prepare ye.
I really appreciate the question because I would like to be able to alert, everybody in CMP along those lines, except it just feels weird to send out an email saying, hey,
Even though it's not.
just so you know, already what you know, it could be December or January.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish that we could be,
I
and
think-
we could if we move the entire timeline.
Right, but I think once they're submitted, it might be okay, this is closed. Your grants will go to committee now. And should you be successful in your application, please be aware, there will not be the delay you've experienced in the past due to X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And it might be able to use it for an advocacy standpoint as they understand that they can then write to their legislators or whatnot, and their board members will have an idea like, hey, this is coming at this time. As some organizations, I know in rural communities, if they're summer producing, cash flow is critical, that they understand that they are going to receive this cash injection. And it's even better because we can actually use the funds for the year it's supposed to be used in based off the grant when we get the funds.
And I think the other thing from our side is we will have the numbers. In the past, we haven't been able to calculate the awards. We didn't know what we have. Because we'll have that in place, we can flop that on DOA. Dale can do his stuff, and Dale's on the line here and he's gonna bless me for saying, and he won't have to do this multiple times. Because remember, last time he had to put in a lesser amount because that's what we thought we had. And then he had to go back and do it again to get it to the actual award amount, which was a lot of work and a lot of trouble.
Thank you for doing that, Dale.
Sure.
Silent watchman. Oh, thumbs up.
As it relates to 24, the second of the budget sheets that's in your packet. It's very colorful, as you can see. And our friends at DOA made it colorful because, as you will see in the salary and fringe, they're cautioning us that there is the 27th pay period. So it looks like we're going to be under supported, but with the supplements, we'll get to where we're supposed to be. And that's why they also made the total amount red, just again, to keep hammering home the point that we're gonna need that supplement in order to get to that 27th pay period to get the dollars we need. Having said that, this is July, August, September, so we're 3 months into the fiscal year. And we're processing what we can process as far as grant awards. But the reality is there's not a lot of operational expense going out the door yet in this fiscal year. So as we come out of this board meeting, we'll have expenses. And then as we approach the gala, whatever we're going to call it, the event, the gathering, there will be expenses. I will take the moment then also to note here that as it relates to the event, there is a gifts and grants category that you never see here. It's not part of the match to the federal government. So it is when Karen and Caitlin have gone off and done panels for other states. They do it as members of the arts board. And so when they get their honorarium, it's really not, they're not accepting it for themselves. It's going into this gifts and grants category. And so as long as the money in that category isn't tagged for something specific and can be used however we'd like, the committee has been asking, and we have been asking DOA, can we use this for catering for the event? And of course, the answer has been yes. The total amount on that is $29,000 in that account. I don't think we're going to spend anywhere near that for this event, but it's really good to know that that's there because, and I'll end it with this, because it's gifts and grants and it's not directly to the match of the NEA, when issues of catering and alcohol and things like that come in, those are things we can pay for out of gifts and grants that we cannot pay out of either state funds or federal funds. So this is a really good position to be in. And I would sort of commend previous boards and staffs who have squirreled this money way over time to bring it to that amount. So at a time like this, we can really use it.
And I would just say, George, would you say it's accurate that the DOA understands what we do better than they have in the past couple of years? In which case that would also play into the salary increases. So
Yeah, no, I think DOA has been really good about learning. Sometime not as quickly as we'd like, but they do learn. And so it's really, it matters a lot because I think the relationship we have with them is a very good one, a good relationship back and forth. If they got an issue, they call on us and we will give them the answer and vice versa, and very quick turnaround. So I think you're right. If there's a creative way to do something, they will be creative with us.
thank you.
Yeah, I think when I started joining in on those conversations, it was like we were speaking two very different languages. And over the course of the years, I feel like we're pretty, we have an accent, but we can certainly understand it.
Having a side conversation. I see.
I can try and get ways.
You know, if it's tied, sorry, sidebar,
Yes.
is it tied to the county or the town, or is it tied to the state? You know, that's what I was.
City.
City?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, then I'm, so I can't be your bartender, sorry.
Damn.
Okay, sorry about that.
There's only one other thing to say, and it's related to the NEA application. And it's just to let you know that we're in an interim year. You can see the smile on Karen's face. We're in an interim year, not a full year.
Yes.
So tell them what that means.
Smile on our face too.
Means that like our CNP application, we don't have to do the full year, everything. We'll do that next year. And so that the timing is really, really good. And George, I did in fact open the application and begin it yesterday. So it is due in mid-October. So we'll get it done. Some years we're on top of things and I'm on top of things and I can share a draft narrative with you. That is not this year. But it's basically, these are highlights from the last year. This is what we're looking forward to next year, kind of thing.
This is how CMP feels this year.
Yes,
Just so you know,
exactly.
we're at the
Yeah,
other side.
how do you think we designed it?
Thank you guys very much. Any more questions for George, John, Karen on anything out of the budget section? Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. And it's nice knowing that the funds are there. Do we accrue? I mean, I'm assuming we accrue for this 27th payroll. I mean, this doesn't come as a surprise to anyone that this is,
No, it's not a surprise, but
it's just coming up.
they have to come up with the meeting that says, here's your extra money for those positions in this 27th period.
It's funny because it's not extra money. It's just how it's a week. You're not asking people to work for free. It just happens to fall within a fiscal year.
This is a thing called politics.
I absolutely heard about this thing called politics.
Well said. I will say it, but yes.
Such an interesting world in which we live.
Right. I just want to add on the salary conversation, because a lot of this is intuitive to state employees, but no one outside of state government. State employees, unless you are in sort of like a narrow classification that has progressive steps. So police officer, I think prison guard. None of which apply to any of the arts board staff and most state employees. You do not get a raise unless the legislature agrees to give you a raise. There are not steps for years of service that, over time you make more. Traditionally, it's been 2%. There were a number of years under past administration where that was frozen. So there was literally kept your same pay. Most recently, there has been at least proposed and tentatively agreed to a 4% increase, which is the largest most state employees have ever seen.
Does the state look at this outside of COLA and merit? Or is this pure COLA?
This is, if you want to call it COLA, you can.
Sure.
I don't know that it is.
There's no such thing as COLA in
Right.
state service. So every 2 years, the legislature does their budget. And there's something called the comp plan, and within that, they can do 0% raises, so this year they did 2% and 2%. They come at different dates. In this fiscal year, it hits. And they also they didn't change the base. So if this legislative committee doesn't act, employees still have to be paid. It comes out of your existing base state funding. So you have to go and spend money that is for other uses.
So this strange concept of looking at a calendar in advance and preparing state budgets and accruing for what is needed for a 27-week thing is just like not conceptual.
It's like my state agency got cut $300,000 of a small state aid budget. Everybody got cut different percentages. They do this every 2 years and they just keep shrinking it, which makes you more reliant upon a shrinking pot of money to pay for simple essentials.
That's why teachers are paying for things themselves.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
Not gonna go down that road, but it helps paint a picture.
That's state aids. I mean, it's it's the same politics, but.
Does this include the politicians themselves, how they?
They typically subject themselves to the same raise. I have
They actually, elected officials can only get a raise when their new term starts.
their new term starts.
So they did put in the comp plan raises for the next term of whatever elected official. So that's already funded.
I'm assuming if it's multiple years, is it taking into account the multiple years in which they've served, or is it like, okay,
Flat rate.
okay.
It's not very much.
And you get per diems. You also get perks if you take higher offices, like the speaker gets a lot more money.
Perfect.
Yep. So the way that state employees often get raises is leaving their current job, taking another one, and or potentially a position can be reclassified, which is essentially like this classification does not reflect.
Looking at for some of our, as we look at for our positions.
The third way is through something called a discretionary equity raise. So DERAs or DMCs are the acronyms. Everything's an acronym. And that's what is the probably most potential way to help staff of the arts board. You look at across state government, those kinds of positions and the pay and the impact of that, and you make an argument for that.
So,
and then it goes to tourism as an agency. Right?
And it's a one-time thing.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for allowing this guy. We had time. And so I was like, I think it's important that everyone on this board understands.
It falls though much more in George's bailiwick, those two other ones, the DMC DERA path or the reclass path is really up to George.
and with the with a DMC, which is like a merit award, traditionally they haven't been base building, meaning like it's like a one-time gift in many agencies. I think there's looking at more flexibility for that. So it's a $2,000 gift one time. With DERAs, it means like I am underpaid for my classification compared to the rest of individuals in this classification across state service. So
Matt, I'd be interested in talking with you more about that, because we've tried reclassing, and unless your job has changed significantly, we just keep getting brick walls from DOA.
Okay, when is the last time? I mean, has it been looked at since 2011?
Yeah.
So it has been looked at, and have they been reclassified?
No,
Even
reclass is
though-
really hard.
Right, I understand, but I'm
Okay.
saying if there's ways for us to look at this of going down from the amount of staff we did to the amount of staff we have and the work, how many jobs is one person
We
doing?
tried that for Dale.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna say we tried that already and we're not gonna ever try it again.
Sure.
It sounds like I'm happy to have another conversation. Maybe they've changed the way they approach reclassing, so it doesn't have to be a significant change. But
It's agency by agency.
But what Matt was talking about is an interesting
Yeah.
approach.
happy to chat.
if John and Matt can be available resources from the board, since they serve in these capacities already and have insight, that'd be great if you could help staff. Thank you.
And many of you met Holly. She was my wife. She was at least she's an HR supervisor, but she was one of the 4 class and comp staff across state government for a period of time. So
We've got some,
also,
we've got some insight. And I say that not to try to overpay our staff, but let's at least competently pay our. I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, that no one, we're public as saying so that we can effectively pay them more than if some of them chose to work in a drive-through.
It's just like we advocate, right? Paying artists for their work. I mean,
Right.
pay them appropriately for their work. That's-
Exactly, and their experience and their expertise and what they're doing for the state. Okay, we'll close this conversation. Thanks for allowing it to happen. With no further questions in regards to the Budget and Finance Committee, let's move on to our ad hoc committees. And we are going to start with Bill and the Access Committee. Thank you again for taking over that committee. I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to meet or not, but we wait with bated breath.
I know it's.
Take your time.
Yeah, we did meet twice, and the first time was just kind of a meet and greet, and that was in May. And then the second time we met in August. But I would like to thank Dale and Karen too for bringing me up to speed and getting me past agendas and kind of enough information so I kind of knew a starting place. So our last agenda for the committee was in February of 2022. So for our August meeting, I built off of that previous agenda to try and get things kind of restarted. And that agenda included the website and the accessibility functions that were added to that, which is basically the widget that helps, disability folks find what they need to be able to navigate the site. One of the members who's a member of the disability community as well, did say that there is a little bit of pushback on these widgets. I don't really quite fully understand all of that, but I think it was kind of decided it's at least, better than nothing. So I'm still looking into that a little bit more, trying to understand what the actual, sort of rub is between what these widgets do for the community and what they're actually looking for. So that's still something that's a little bit open, but all in all, I think there was a pretty favorable take on what's been done to the website. That was one of the first things. The second thing on the agenda was Smart Simple. And these were questions that were asked of the grantees on things about accessibility, including like programming, what about their site, do they have parking, do they have, all the things ADA require. And so this is an area that the committee felt like we needed to definitely do some more work. One of the reasons was, if I understand it right, the NEA requires a certain level of compliance. And if we're going to be giving out grants that are under the NEA, we're sort of required to align with that as well. So that's one of the things that came up about making sure that not only is it the right thing to do, but also that how does that align with what the NEA is going to require of us as we give the grants out based on their compliance requirements.
Put a pin in that for a second. So are we required for organizations who receive because you may not all be aware, when grants, it shows, the Arts Board shows whether or not your grant dollars have been paid through the NEA match or whether they've been used by the state of Wisconsin. I know our CMP grant has been paid through via the NEA at times. Are we required or obligated to go beyond, besides asking them questions? Are we ever required to audit the accessibility of what they're saying to ensure that we are official, that we are abiding by it versus allowing a checkbox to say, yes, we do these things?
We just went through some conversations with the NEA last year about that, and I have been in contact with the state's compliance, contract compliance person, and she said, if you're giving away less than $50,000, please just don't worry about it.
You've answered that question because none of our gifts are. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
But even beyond that NEA requirement, just I think what part of the discussion was too, was to have everyone sort of just be thinking about these things in their own organization. Like, do we have this kind of accessibility that we should, based on our budgets and based on the size of the organization? And that some of these questions might just spur that conversation within their own organization and kind of create awareness as well. So aside from any sort of compliance in terms of, regulation from the NEA, it was also just something to have people thinking about, what's happening within their own space and how they might be taking some time just to look at that and then think about how they could make improvements or look for ways to better serve the disability community.
I think the phrase we've been talking about a lot is beyond compliance.
Yeah.
Compliance is like the bare minimum.
Sure.
And so we're gonna pick your brain and the brain of the access committee in a little bit related to the regional celebrations when we get to that part of it.
Great.
And the other thing I look at that is, as you guys are doing this work, it would be so great to have on our website an accessibility section to where we can have recommendations, have you, like, items that they're looking at, because I had some things pointed out to me at Peninsula Players this year that have nothing to do with ADA. They are, as people age and sit on a toilet, they need help getting up, and they are not in a walker, they're not with a cane or anything, but it is simply getting from the standard height of a toilet to the elevated height and needing bars to help them. So that's stuff that we're installing this autumn, and our cubicles or whatever, so that it helps people stand. And those are things that have nothing to do with the ADA. But so I think it's important as we as organizations and this access committee that we can share the knowledge to organizations who've never had someone might have been too embarrassed to say, I can't get up from the commode.
I will say that the access committee was really helpful and informed our accessibility page on the site, and the NEA has some really good resources. But given what you just said, if you have some time to talk with us or join the access committee or whatever for a minute and just go through that site with us to kind of pull out what might make it more accessible. I mean, to people who are just looking for quick information. It's kind of blocky right now.
The subject came up and as tourism goes through this kind of assessment of itself as well, the speaker that they had reminded us all that we're all temporarily able. And so to your point, what you're talking about, everybody's going to need at some point, right? So it's not even an ADA thing. It's hey, we're all going to need this thing. So how do we make universal design or universal accommodation so that we all can move around as easily as possible?
Yeah, I mean, at the Players right now, everyone used to say, car coming down for handicap parking, and we now say car coming down for accessible parking.
Right on.
And we've just changed the terms that we're using. I think because it doesn't always represent the person coming in the vehicle. They'll say, I have a handicap placard, and we'll say accessible back to them instead of left out. So wonderful. I'd be happy to. Sorry to interrupt you, Bill.
No, that's all right. Those are all really good points. One of the other things that did come up too within that conversation was feedback from applicants on the length of the application process versus the dollar amounts awarded, just because we don't have as much money to give away. And so there was just a recognition that adding a lot more, some things that would be way more burdensome was probably going to be problematic for some of the applicants, so that who are already feeling like they struggle with the amount of time it takes to fill out the application versus the award amount that they're getting. So that was something we just recognized as part of the challenge of that whole conversation.
Right. Is this one already streamlined from what it used to be? Have these applications already undergone some of the changes that CMP underwent?
Or so.
Okay, then, I mean, some of that I'll go back to and say it's some of our I understand. And I think there's always room to look at these applications, but we as a governing body have to do our due diligence to make sure that the money that we're giving out, that people meet set criteria. And the way I phrase it when I've had people say things to me about it, as I said, how often have you gone back to what you wrote for the Wisconsin Arts Board and used for another grant and copy pasted? This is having you create work that you will then use elsewhere. And so it's a good once a year or once every 4 years where you have the full application that it's giving you material to use for 4 years. So plan in advance and know that it's going to pay off.
I also think, though, that it's really important to remember what Bill just brought up. We can do all those things, but we must always be thinking about the amount of work we're putting on somebody.
Absolutely.
And why we're doing it. If the why is to help bring them to a place that we hope everybody can move through, then that's a good thing. And that we're not the DNR. We're not here to you will comply or
Right.
that is it for you. Rather, we're trying to encourage behavior and doing it as best we can with a positive move forward. And so, like I say, I think it's important for us as the quote unquote bureaucrats to remember, hey, whatever we're layering on people, it's on top of the work that we're already asking of them. And while we think it's important, we want to do it in a way that's respectful of the time of the applicant.
Do we allow for the accessibility grants? And I don't know if it's even time, if we have the time to, is having someone answer the questions verbally. From an accessible standpoint, if they're having difficulties typing or seeing or something, that it can be an interview to where you're asking the questions and they're verbally giving it back, that a committee can then see if that's a barrier for some. From a time standpoint, that you could have a couple people in a room who could answer the questions. Is that,
Yeah, we do that
okay,
too.
And the apprenticeship program and
Wonderful.
within Indian Arts.
so
Give them-
that, I don't know if we've made that apparent to those applying for accessibility grant, you know?
Well, and I don't know that we say that among creative communities and creation of presentation, but we,
It's the emergence of the voice technology.
Yep.
So they're able to speak it and it's recorded in type. So, so it has not come up.
Okay.
As a accessibility request. We Dale and especially Dale keep his ears on the ground in terms of what other state arts agencies are doing and the regionals are doing. And we just went through the LEAD conference and those sessions are recorded. And I don't know if they're up yet, Caitlin, but that's a conference put together nationally to really focus on issues of accessibility and the arts. And so I know, Bill, you'll be looking at those recordings over the next few weeks too. So there are best practices that we can call from that. I haven't heard that one come up in any of them because I think, again, the voice technology kind of has really helped remove a lot of that barrier. But
I just wasn't sure if there's people who have some of the barrier might be the equipment itself.
Yeah.
To where there's a way, is there a way? And that's where we've talked about, I know in CMP where I brought out, is there, like if someone needed the assistance of something, is there another organization that's willing to be an assistant within a community or within a region to say, if you need the help with this, you can come here? I know within Door County that it's, our arts are so mature that we do collaborate in that sense, but there might be some of these in the rural communities who don't know how to access or would not even think about asking this question. And I know that it's easier to ask me a question and I can verbally answer it and I can type it up as well, but you're going to get a verbal answer from me much quicker and I can move on to the work at hand.
Matt, do you know if any of the ADRCs provide any services like that? I know a lot of them are severely understaffed as is.
I just don't know.
Okay. I might follow up on that actually.
And then the kind of the last thing under that smart simple was go into a little bit, we've been talking about discussion on, what are the questions and how do they fit into the application or on the website for, should you be considering these things? I think that's still an open conversation that hadn't, only a few bullet points have been put together on that so far. So we're still kind of working on that as well. And then the next thing we discussed was the Arts Board on-site accessibility assessment. And after reading through that and getting some input from one of the members, it turned out it's considered to be very, very good among most organizations. There was a handful of really small things like the sign that's for accessible parking was 2 inches too low or 2 inches too high. There was something in front of the copier. It was really, really pretty minor stuff, at least from my perspective. So I think that was really good. I don't know if there's a whole lot more that needs to be done with that. Perhaps it could be forwarded to the DOA. So if there are any future renovations they're thinking about, they'd at least have that information. If they're doing something in the parking lot, maybe they could raise that sign up 2 inches and comply in that way. But there was also the discussion, I think, too, about, the difference between ADA is one thing, accessibility is a whole nother thing. And so that conversation was part of what we were interested in as well. And then one of the members forwarded a pretty interesting article because we're talking also about how we are framing these conversations and framing the discussion on accessibility. And there's really interesting kind of idea that, you know, it's really framed as what they call the medical model now, which means there's something wrong with the person. And we accommodate for that, and versus the social model where the building accommodates for everybody. And so I think reframing these conversations and kind of coming up with a new narrative and I really look to learn a lot from the LEAD conference, which I didn't get to go to, but I'll be seeing in the next couple of weeks on video because I'm very much a novice in all of this conversation here. So I'm looking forward to getting myself more educated as well. But I thought that was a really interesting way to think about this and how we think about how we help to reframe that conversation as well. And it goes without saying, we always need input from the disability community as we're making these decisions, not making them from on high or from apart, that we're actually including everyone who's affected by this as well. So our second meeting was really robust and there were good conversations. And I know a couple of committee members actually went to the LEAD conference as well, or did it a hybrid. So I'm feeling like it's a good group and we're just really getting going and looking forward to learning a bunch more coming up before our next meeting. That's going to be in November.
Wonderful. I think we're so fortunate to have this group because they are very engaged and very active. So thank you.
I just want to do a clarification and this is for Karen and Caitlin as well as the board. I put us under this report under the ad hoc committees. It's my sense that in the past we've at least discussed, so I don't know that we moved, that this accessibility committee be one of the standing committees.
I agree. I think in this day and age,
So I would appreciate you guys moving and seconding and doing all that good stuff to move it into that space. And then the next time we redraw the bylaws, we'll take care of it. But for now, as a policy of the board, if you could make that.
I
So-
make the motion.
Second.
wonderful. So you have a motion and a second, Jane, to make this as part of, to remove it from ad hoc, at least administratively right now from a meeting standpoint, and put it as a standing. And then when we, I think I'm the only person, though, John might be on the bylaw. There's one other person, I think, on the bylaws with me that we can look at this. If anybody works under bylaws, you understand that the changes then require that they are submitted and then you have a certain period of time to live with them and then a certain period of time for us to vote on them. So we will take a look at that and get that included. So when we meet in December, we can officially change the bylaws to change this to a standing committee.
For the moment, if you could just act on the fact that we're making that change administratively, I would appreciate it.
Wonderful. Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. And thank you, Bill, again for stepping up and taking that on. All right, we have a task force. Task force are limited time gatherings. And thank you very much, Lynn, for taking this on and everybody who's made so much time for this, because this has been a bit encompassing. So Lynn, the 50th anniversary task force.
I'll tell you, one of the best things I like about our whole group, but my task force in particular, is we're an action group. We're not just sitting waiting for stuff to happen, this task force has been absolutely awesome at working at
She's
things.
a taskmaster on an agenda, let me tell you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Our period.
first, if you haven't, please go and check out the website to see all the stuff that has been happening. I'm gonna defer to George here. George, you want to kind of give a setup of how the kickoff and everything has been going?
Oh, sure. In fact, I was gonna, as we were talking here, bring up the 50th anniversary website. Because if you haven't seen it, or even if you had, it'll be nice to have in our background of our conversation. So just 1 second. The kickoff, of course, you will remember, was on August 2nd. So it seems so long ago now. It sure does seem long ago. And the beauty of that was that it came via all of the social channels, and our friend Sarah even got us on Instagram. So all of a sudden now we have a third social channel. So we're happy for that. And yeah, I just think that's been amazing for us. Hang on, I'm getting there. Do one last thing. Here we go. All right, so, yeah, I mean, you have seen the site. Thank you, Sarah. Again, it must be noted at the beginning of this conversation and at the end, without Sarah and Signy added to the team. And without the ability of Karen and Caitlin and Dale to pick up this new effort, which is, a huge effort on top of the regular work, this doesn't get done. And so, on August 2nd, out goes the email to the world, out on the social media. The Arts Board is now 50 years old. What was really interesting about it was the way it got picked up, the way people started responding to it. And interesting, the one side of the aisle, the Democratic side of the aisle, the Lieutenant Governor, who we didn't think thought about us at all, was the Democratic Assembly people and the Democratic Senate people all liked all the conversation about the Arts Board's 50th anniversary. So that lifted it up beyond ourselves. You have, I hope, watched the video. It has inspired others to make their own videos, which has been wonderful. And so the launch has been good, and people, no matter where we see them, are talking about the Arts Board's 50th anniversary. And wishing us well again in social media and other places. So that's the launch.
Thank you. So we're gonna move on to Sarah, because Sarah has really, really put in the effort and done a great job.
Yeah, okay, I'll share, if I can share my screen. We have some, oh wait. Okay. Some sort of analytics from the website. I'm not knowing how to share my screen.
Did they give you the ability to?
Oh, there, okay. Here, so this is from the WordPress. I actually got this email this morning. I had a different screen, but this one I think is easier. So we had 825 visitors in August. And it's gone down a little bit, obviously, since the second, since we're not sharing it as much, but we have our 50 Artists for 50 Years project where we've been spotlighting artists around the state. We have around 25 artists who have self-nominated themselves. A couple have nominated other artists, and now we're starting to think about outreach and other artists we want to include that maybe haven't gotten this form yet. But that too, I think, is keeping consistent traffic to the site. And then our normal website, these are the analytics for that. So a lot of.
Are you able
visitors.
to expand that a bit? Just so, thank you.
Yeah, it's just a screenshot, so I don't have more than that, but I noticed, yeah, it says 1,700 new users. I don't know how they determine if someone is new to the site, but yeah, definitely people are.
And this analytics report is like 25 pages, or how many pages long? It seemed like it was ridiculous. I mean, really amazingly long. But this is the screenshot that would catch your attention most.
Yeah.
You can see that spike on the second, and then the spike when CNP hit. We sent out something related to that, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and then I also have a screenshot from our Instagram. 327 accounts reached in the past 3 months. This is my first time starting an Instagram account. I've ran Instagram accounts for other internship sort of positions. So it's been interesting trying to follow people and get traffic. And that's something I'm excited to focus more on in the next couple months.
And the algorithms are terrible for both Facebook and Instagram if you don't pay for things now. I mean, it's really become a money grab.
Sarah, can you tell me, do you remind us, do you ask individual artists to follow us on Instagram when they are spotlighted?
So this is something I'm starting to do as we're kind of starting the rollout for 50 artists. I'm going to create a little like media toolkit to share with the artists when they're being spotlit. So language for if they want to post on Instagram or Facebook, and then links to our sites just to make that really easy for them. And hopefully get more artists nominating themselves. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have all looked at the website, but that too has been the big project this summer. We created a historic timeline just going through the history of the Arts Board to try and tell people what we're about. It's pretty long and I'm interested in kind of sharing some of that on social media in shorter and more, I think, fun ways for people to connect with.
I hope you'll have looked at the timeline to see if there are things that you think should be there that aren't. Right? Because we've put up as much as we can as we look through the history. And we've touched base with two former deputy directors that go back to the 80s. And we've talked to the executive director who was the executive director in the 80s here. So it's been a really interesting opportunity to catch up on the history of the Arts Board with people who were a part of it in those earlier days. But yes, as you go out there and look, if you see some things that we haven't included, or you wonder why we included certain things, we'd love to hear.
Sarah, are you having any difficulty in getting people, get artists for the 50? Good. I'm
No.
very happy to hear that.
I would say, in fact,
Now you have to start
We're
figuring.
we're gonna actually bring to your attention the idea of having this 50th anniversary year be kind of the launch of this. We have had such a flood of interest of people who haven't even submitted their forms yet, that we're looking to maybe just continue this onward for
That's
forever.
great. Continuing to
And
highlight.
maybe encourage our regranting friends and other local arts agencies to think about doing it in their own communities. So Sarah has created this awesome template, which makes it really easy for people to do the interest form, insert your question you want answered here kind of thing. So it would be really easy for local groups to replicate.
I know that it made, we nominated Karen, so if you go up one, as someone who has done costume design for many theaters across Wisconsin, the US and internationally, and is a professor at Lawrence. And she was so touched and just so tickled at the recognition. It really meant a lot to her.
So Sarah can you describe your biggest challenge in all of this right now? Calendar?
Just, slotting the artists and figuring out how we want to extend this through the year, how we're gonna distribute, because we've been thinking about like where people are based and their discipline and demographics and how we want to just.
Are we looking at artists that have only gotten grants, or are we looking at everybody?
No, it's everybody.
In the state,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Because I had forgotten.
We've had musician, dance, and visual and costume so far. So visual that kind of translates sort of theater, but so that's part of it. And men, oh my goodness, we have so many women who are right out of the gate. And so we're starting to tap, who else do we need? Where else in the state are we missing? That kind of thing. So this is the puzzle that Sarah's putting together or trying to without a bunch of pieces yet on the
other piece
table.
of it is the very successful members of the Arts Board, past and present. And so you'll see that the very first one up was Mary Alice Wimmer, who was on the Arts Board when it began in 1973 and was still on and off when I started in 1991. So it's been a long time. But also Helen Klebesattel.
It had to be,
Yeah, right.
So we have a lot of really wonderful people of our own to showcase. And so as Karen and was talking about the puzzle, that's part of the puzzle, is to make sure that it's not so heavily Arts Board related, but also discipline, geography, et cetera. So.
And also, Jane Herring and Sarah worked on the toolkit. And Sarah really
She
moved it
did
right
just
along.
so-
didn't
she sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was excellent. Thank you.
What was your internship? When does it?
Thank you for that introduction.
Yes.
We're delighted to say that Sarah just agreed to stay with us as our funding is available for this through fiscal year 24. So we have.
So then I'm just gonna scroll the toolkit for a second.
Yeah.
And throw a shout out to Chella, who helped us in the Instagram image.
That's right. Charlotte did too.
But so social media is part of this toolkit. Right? And the logo is part of this toolkit.
Up
And they were great because we used that first logo right away. Right as it was available.
Is this being seen on live stream, by the way?
Yes.
It is great. Awesome.
Because we're sharing it,
Good.
but even the animated stuff. And we were able to credit the animator, so that's lovely to finally have.
And are we crediting Paul Menke for his work with the logo anywhere?
Or we just paid?
Have it prominently enough. Thank you, Brian.
no, that's a great point.
Yeah.
On the timeline, but I think if we have the animator there, we should have.
And the person who helped with the.
Great idea. And it actually leads back to, as we think about the event, the kinds of people we want to recognize and with what or how. So.
I just wanted to also draw your attention to the fact that we have a section on stories, gathering stories. And that we just haven't had time or capacity to really focus on yet. So we're turning to you as well as you go into your respective communities to encourage as many people as possible to share a story. We've got a story form. It's pretty straightforward. And we're gonna need to start getting more serious about collecting those, the shared stories tab there.
Are we showing samples of, on that website of how people have used them, like the full page ad that we did? So it's obvious to people like, hey,
That's a great idea too.
so here's how people have used this. Here are in-life samples. And if you need the tools to lay this out like this, here's a sample and here's where you can download the logo and here's
So we've got
the
toolkit,
color.
and that would be perfect to just add right in there. So
Because I think Paul was pretty key on the actual gold I mean, I think if we can give them all of the, the colors, et cetera, of like when they're using font type and what font is it, I think as Paul was pretty.
That's part of the logo usage.
Yeah.
That's part of the media kit. It's.
The usage, and then if you're gonna type underneath it and create an ad with it, we've got it. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's how big a type it has to
Great,
be.
okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
That's all part of that.
Now we're gonna move on to Bill. And Bill is the hero of the committee, because the poor guy, he worked on swag. And of course, he picked things out and we all agreed. And then we came back and said, oh, but Bill, could you find out this? Well, yeah, we really like that. So Bill put out, this is the final. Do not bring up any suggestions.
But there are more items that you're seeing
I
on
know,
here.
I know.
Yeah.
Bill's gonna take care of that. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Bill. Thank you for printing these out.
Certainly. Well, yeah, these are our swag items. And actually, I brought the sample bag with me. Yeah, and so one of the things, a couple of things that we decided on the bag was, one, it should be a good quality, it's gonna hold up. And that's obviously not our logo. But this one had a really big print area, like 5 inches or something like that. So we felt that was important. And something that's useful with a bottom that sort of folds out or whatever. And then price point too. So if anyone wants to check that out, you can check that out. But it was pretty good quality. It's something to stick around. People can carry around for some years. And again, we can get a really good big logo on there. Now, they don't actually give us the proof until we physically pay for it. So we haven't quite done that yet. So I just mocked it up.
And I've got a couple coming. So there are items. No, I'm saying that,
I've already done that.
yes, I've ordered a couple of the items
From the store.
so that I can then share.
Different than this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. These are the items that are on the sheet are the ones we're going to be giving away at the events where we travel around and then the main event as well. You get the bag with the enamel pin, a sticker and a magnet. So anyways, that's what we did for that. And we adjusted some of the quantities to get within a more reasonable budget. But those are the things that we feel like will represent our brand and what we're trying to do in terms of quality and also just getting the message out. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. We're just kind of waiting to finalize getting all those things ordered. But also, in addition to that, we have
Wait 1 second, Bill. Did we power off? It said powering off.
You know what?
Is it the owl, George?
No, it's the
I don't know if
TV.
there's any power to this table. I think that's the problem because I realize that.
No, it's the screen itself.
I understand. I'm saying that I'm looking at where I'm plugged in and my laptop battery is dying. Yet I'm plugged in.
Yeah, and I'm fully charged, so I haven't lost any power.
Yeah, I'm good.
Maybe that side of the table.
No. Push this in a little further.
That could help.
And that just said powering off on the screen.
Wish I knew where the on
Did
off.
we lose people or are they still on?
Had we not touched it in a while, like,
Yeah.
Okay,
but not that. long. I mean,
so it's the main screen?
Right, that's where.
You still have it on your computer? I
Yeah,
mean, it's still live.
The stream is live.
Good. Oh, so we're still streaming, so we can still continue on?
It's the TV. No, mine was not plugged in all the way in my thing. It's the TV that went out.
It said powering off on the screen.
This is brand new.
Well, putting it through its paces, I guess.
This was, it was the TV part.
Well, if you're ever gonna have a technology problem, this is probably.
Uh-oh.
That's great. While they're looking, as long as we're live streaming, they'll go ahead.
Oh, TV's back. There, we go. Turn it on and off.
Okay.
The control.
That's the IT people, like, yeah, have you tried turning it on and off?
Okay, now that that's back on, go ahead, Bill.
And if you notice on your sheet, the proof for the enamel pin, the pin, it's just the one on the top, they're not actually quite the scale. The one on the top's only, is 2.5 inches and the pin is 2 inches. And if you look at the graph one on the bottom, it's almost that full 3 inches. So it should be big enough, easy to read. And I think that's going to work really well. I also set up a swag store, and there's the website for it down below. We're still kind of working some things out in that. I mean, 15 items that we can sell. And so you can go in and check that out if you want to, and see what we have in there. We've got water bottles and t-shirts and wine tumblers and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm still kind of tweaking that out a little bit.
I'm not getting
It's
that.
actually ready to, what's that?
Sorry, that's live already?
You can check out the link,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be set private, so we're not gonna be able to, it won't be able to go in public, but
I've got the
that will be
audio.
sometime pretty soon, once we get all the get some samples ordered and also get it connected to a PayPal account so we can actually start.
When it is, how will it be marketed?
On the 50th site.
Okay.
Have we?
Social media, the 50th site.
Serious.
Yep.
Just I mean,
that's
and at the
happening
regional
all the time.
events, I would
Well,
think.
we should also be letting everybody we know,
Absolutely.
Great.
once it's up and running.
It's up and running, be able to share the link with anyone in your groups, and then, yeah, if we can have it on the website and then also post it on social media.
Do the Arts News.
I'll send you a picture of me when I get my t-shirt this week.
Good idea.
Send me a picture. And my notepad.
Right?
No, I'm not someone who's gonna sell it. No, it's not a.
Tumblr.
I had a very good question. Where do the proceeds go?
Oh, to me.
My private bank account.
Yeah, the conversation we had about the pricing.
Proceeds at the moment go into the gifts and grants category.
Okay, that's good.
But we've priced, I mean, in the conversation, the pricing was to put it so that the mark was so minimum
That people can buy.
that people can buy, plus it's not like we're and we don't need to worry about the money coming in the sense, and
First board money grab is not
a
what.
little more than break even, but exactly.
So I mean, to that point, I should be able to lower some of our pricing because it's set just pricing for me when I set it up, and some of them are like, probably 25 or
They want a
30%.
refund.
Well, I think you have to
Thank
go
you
back
for
to the site. I don't settle that part. So the price will probably come down a little bit from what I have on that initial
If
site.
we let the pricing, I mean, I'll look to you and Bill. To me, I think we leave that to the staff George
Right,
George has access to, and I have access as the site. So if George, and I would say if you and George have a conversation,
Mhm.
so that George isn't tasked with having to manage the site, but at least you guys can have a pricing conversation as to where he feels comfortable price wise, as to where we're marking these and what a suitable mark would be.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on.
See, Taskmaster.
John, the school. Has everybody received the information from DPI that was sent out? And y'all read it, or did they not all receive it?
I don't think I got it.
George.
I'm looking right now when not understanding why.
George?
We're still password protected, so if you wanna. Also, the password is 50th if you wanna show on the website.
Yeah, okay.
And that'll go live.
So John, you can go ahead and start and then once that gets up.
Let's see. Let's hold on a second. So there's been here you go. So there's been a project where our schools would help us celebrate the 50th anniversary across the state. And we have a state recognized poet who created a poem like the wind. It was then set to music with different settings for choir, orchestra, concert band, as you can read there. It also, we brought together some leaders in arts education in different forms of arts education to create lessons that educators in all different kinds of energy, including dance, including spoken word, can then take these materials and use them and teach them to kids, and then present them in schools across the state or communities across the state.
So it's basically what grades is it set up for?
Well, it could be all grades.
Right.
And so the lessons, you have elementary level lessons and you have, and the, here, you have it right here. So you have different levels of composition right there. So the music lesson plans. That's the key one that's differentiated, but then you have media arts as well. And dance.
If you click on one of those, it'll take you to the lesson plans that DPI has.
Not music yet, but.
Yeah, maybe not quite
So
yet, but.
it's really wonderful and it's going out to our different schools. I'm in a rural area. And I plan, because I know most of the school administrators, I've got like 5 schools in the area. So I'm going to go and talk to the administrator because, you know, it's in the newsletter out to them, which is really nice. But I know what happens. You know, sometimes it gets missed or they don't actually think about it. But if you go in and you got a face to say, did you read that? It's so cool, you know, and would you be willing to, can I talk, you know, you want to bring the music teacher and the art teacher in and we can talk, you know, and see. So y'all can do that.
And at the state level, we're promoting it through our communications to all the public, but also specifically, we have liaison relationships with all the arts educator associations. We also have listservs and other ways. We have conferences for each area. And so we're promoting it across the state.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Thank you very much, John.
And it's nice to see the news that's already gathered, like that George shared.
Right.
Oh, the
Yep.
DPI.
Yeah,
shared.
exactly.
So-
Well, that, yes.
That we were
and-
able to share, yeah, no doubt. And October 16th is the launch date. So it's a few days before the big event.
Yeah.
But
And just,
Awesome.
I would have one suggestion. If we talk to Chris Gleason about maybe having a group here at the 19th.
Yes.
That would be fabulous.
just so you're aware, the password that was just shared publicly is being changed and will be shared privately following this meeting for our website.
Very lovely idea. And, you know, shout out to Chris Gleason, who's done so much work on this project. And to Sarah, who's built another aspect of the website to make that work. So. All right, I will stop sharing this.
So nice that that you're able to come on as an LTE and keep you going through this stuff. It's so great.
Need to click Chris to get somebody here for the 19th or?
I don't know that we said that. Okay, so.
That would be good.
Is that to be able to hear it is,
Yeah, exactly.
because
Here-
it was one of Susan's like, do we need a piano? Do we need, just so
Yeah.
that we keep in contact with what they may
Well,
need?
Probably, I'll get Chris to talk to you guys.
I'm gonna need to know. You know, we're running really late now. An event usually is planned like this 6 months in advance. We're a month out.
We're scrappy people. We can
Yeah,
get
I
this
know,
done.
right.
I mean, have you met the
because-
taskmaster?
Well, that's how I work too, you know.
So let's go on with that. So the grant awards timelines, that pretty much was talked about, so we're fine on that, but Signe, she's gone. So unfortunately, we can't clap for her because boy, what a project that was. And thanks to the board for getting her all the information so that she could put it together.
I'm sure Dale was on
The
that.
extension of that is going to be a conversation between Lynn and Brian and Chella. So task force, arts board and external relations committee to sort through what are we gonna do with all that great information we have.
It is
Right.
amazing. And if we can sit with just sitting and looking at the numbers and the people and the cities and all that stuff, the ideas that start sparking on how we might be able to catalyze really cool stuff from that are.
We just need to schedule a meeting.
And it's gotta be highlighting some of the, for lack of a better term, arts deserts or not, you know what I mean? Areas of the states that have
Those
been
that have
under.
been under the radar and we're not
Yes,
aware of what's
exactly.
going on. Yeah, absolutely.
Before I turn it over to Susan, who is explained, yeah, we're close to having this event, so, and she's worked hard. But first of all, I want everybody to know Susan has asked for people to come in the day before. You're gonna have to give us a time to come here and help. So,
Because I only have, right now, I have only two people in my rental department. And with only two people, we have to set up the tables and the chairs
Right.
and tablecloths, centerpieces, which we haven't even talked about yet, which should be something artistic. I'm thinking about an artist in Merrimack who does things for me for nothing. So I'm thinking.
What time frame do you see on that day so we can mark our calendars? Because I know we all want to help.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can set
right.
up a sign up sheet too with you, Susan.
would
We
be
can start
great.
doing
Yeah.
some tasks and then getting that out to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But we're talking about as early as Wednesday morning, people showing up. Is that what you're thinking?
As much as I'd like to be there, it's my staff departure day and possibly a board meeting day for me.
It's probably not a good idea. Let me take a look at the calendar. We're talking about. Yes,
It's sour.
I don't care. I just want. It's choking on something.
Around. They can go all around.
Talking,
The October 19th.
So the October 18th is when we would be coming in to help.
I'm sure it's on the calendar.
Do we have? a
As we
time?
talk that, George, as we talk people coming in who may be from outstate, is their budget for 2 nights in a hotel? Or have we talked about
Oh, probably not.
what budget for, I'm just
Yeah.
just
Right, no, we haven't talked about that at all.
so it sets people's expectations for.
The answer is yes. Yes, for the board members.
The board members who would come in to help,
I thought you
not the
meant
guests.
something else.
No, not guests.
Not the guests.
The board members who are coming in to help, just making sure that we are
If-
very
How many
clear.
people are going to come? That's, if
To
you
the event?
raise your hand,
Oh.
no, to help. Maybe for. Yeah.
You know, I got a couple of meetings that day, but if you don't mind if I zoom out.
Yeah.
Plenty of hands.
About a half a dozen. Okay, that's
Brian,
that's
we
good.
may need to.
I'm thinking 10 o'clock in the morning.
How's 10 o'clock in the morning for everybody?
Is that bad? I don't know. You know, I live an hour away too.
You guys
I
wanna
live 4
offline
hours,
this?
But I'll come and do it.
Why don't we
Yeah, we
take
can,
this?
this kind of
Yeah.
detail we can.
Okay.
Yeah, with those who are, if you guys find that you can
If I
help,
can get.
email so that
Yeah.
Susan knows exactly who's coming and when.
I just would love to have the help. You
She's
know,
gonna-
I'm old. It's hard
Karen's
to-
gonna send out a sign up sheet for us, so just sign it up.
Yep.
So, okay, go ahead, Susan.
And, as Karen Ann has reminded us, this is the first time some of the board is hearing about what this event is. So, you know, we'll excite them by what it is and then encourage their participation. But let's sketch the full event first.
Okay, so that's what I'm gonna need help on. My kitchen staff, just a second, sorry. Thank you. It's still gonna ring in my hearing aids. Anyhow, I've talked to Angela already about creating a menu that is under your budget. And we're probably going to do it. It depends on how many people we have. If we have 250 people, which I want, we will then do it in both studios, where the second studio will be used for a buffet lines. And we'll do it buffet style. It's more expensive for food to do a buffet because you have to have so much more. But for help, it's way cheaper to do a buffet. So that's how I'm trying to do it for, this is a group that doesn't have any money. And
We're gonna do apps.
we're going to
and
do some very light appetizers. Just a couple in the main studio. I mean, in the main showroom where we started. And then we'll do whiskey punch because it's way cheaper than serving wine and way cheaper than serving any kind of booze. And it tastes good. So that's the other thing. It's
As long as there's also a non-alcoholic version of.
and then we will have some non-alcoholic things as well. And then we'll go into the main studio, which will be set up for a party. And hopefully we will have entertainment on the stage. We've got the stage, we've got all of the stuff that we need. If we need a podium, we've got that. We've got the lighting and sound covered. And that's my donation.
Thank you very much.
Well, and all those people that I have to pay to do the stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, it should be terrific. We need to get an invitation. Should have been out already. How are we going to get this done?
So it's an Evite. So.
Evite?
Yeah, it's gonna be that kind of an invitation. We're not sending paper. And so, one of the things we need to talk about is, two phrases. One of them is, some people have said, I can only do the social. So I'm coming for just the social. I'm not coming for dinner. So we need to be able to articulate that within this invitation, that that's an option for people.
Okay.
And then the second thing is how to say no government money was involved in the staging of this event.
You say it.
Because
Just say
it's
it.
really important that we put that out there, that this is not
Really
GPR or
important
federal money.
to make sure that that is said. I mean, we can say it was, sponsored by
Or underwritten by,
or under.
because then it's the whole thing. Sponsored by sounds like someone contributed a certain amount. Underwritten is, it's taken care of.
So this can be turned around in a day, so,
Yeah.
but I
please
think
let
the
me
next,
see it.
yeah, I wouldn't send it without you, but the next piece of this is, as we split this off, one of the things we're gonna have to identify is what is the program, which is gonna be very short, not a big deal, right? But we need to recognize our distinguished guests, whoever those distinguished people are. We need to run that a bit. I don't know if you had a chance to reach out to the music school to see if they'll bring people to play.
I haven't, and I should
So,
immediately.
but yeah, so we can, that's how things are gonna split off from this point.
You want
We-
students?
Yeah, that's fine. But you had said you're gonna talk to
School, I
Johannes
mean-
as well.
Yeah, I'll just call Johannes and ask him what he thinks.
So as of today, it's official. This is the day, this is the place, this is the time, which is 5 to 10 o'clock that day.
Which is the
That's a
MC.
long party.
No, 5 hours is a good party.
You think so?
I know it. I've run a lot of parties.
I believe, I believe.
You always, if it lasts less than 5 hours, it's kind of an party.
I want to be in the category.
But it's from 5 to 6:30.
Some of the stuff we'll be able to discuss at our next meeting, like who's gonna be the MC, where the entertainment, you will have contacted them and.
So far, we know about, my predecessor's already in. The save the date thing, Dean wrote right back and said, I'm there. You picked a good day. So on the other hand, we have a couple of former and current board members who can't make that date, that date didn't work out so well. So
For the Evite, I just think it's important we really set the stage for the expectation of what people are coming to. So I think the words we're going to choose are going to dictate how people dress, et cetera. And I think I would rather have someone come in jeans and a black tee or whatever and have them here than feel as though they can't, it's gonna feel, if you use the term gala or gala, it is, I know, it is even business, yeah. I just think the wording, but also what the expectation of, like, whenever we do things at the Players for opening night, we very much set the stage of, it will be exactly this is what you're going to, like, this is the food, so don't, if you are gluten intolerant and a vegan, etc., please take care of your, you know what I mean? So it really sets the stage prior to the arrival of Caitlin. No, I'm joking. No, just as we look at that so that no one is sitting here managing an event that is underwritten by an incredible individual and organization and having to listen to, well, I can't believe they don't have, you know what I mean? Of just, that's why I like to set the stage as much as possible in an Evite.
Our friends from Epic did that with this tour. And in their agenda that they had sent to us, business casual is the dress that they recommended, and that's lovely that they put that there. Yeah. But yes, it has to be a very simple invitation, but it has to hit the points that you're describing. And to Lynn's point, and the whip is coming. So we want to make sure that we get through this. So the invitation will be there, and it looks like Matt has something to say.
Well, what,
Can I-
go ahead.
Can I just, like, because I'm learning about this right now, I just want to ask the question that I think maybe some of us are thinking, which is, does it need to be delayed and can it be delayed?
I think we've already delayed it once.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think,
We put it out as a save the date, so it's not like people don't know the event is coming.
And I think the close, like in the winter would be bad.
Right.
Anything can happen any day.
I would say, yeah, because in winter, that's when World Premier Wisconsin, and they lost a whole host of us because a storm hit and none of us could come.
And you also don't want to have it be 3/4 of the year away from when the actual celebration, the August date. So
And it's gonna be what it's gonna be,
Yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
gonna celebrate, we're gonna do, that's why we have the regional celebrations. George, I would recommend on this that as people, we have them RSVP and are RSVPing for the reception, are RSVPing for the reception and the meal so that their kitchen has an F&B guarantee that they can work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other piece of it, and this is something you all can discuss, should we in the invitation say, can't be there in Madison, but look forward to the regional events and list the regional events?
Yes.
So.
No,
Because then people will opt out. Because
no,
then you're giving
because
them
then
an
you
out.
will have too many people opt out. Yeah, don't even talk about the regional events in this invitation.
I agree.
They will.
They can be
then-
announced
they'll get
at
other-
the event.
Yeah, they'll get other invitations.
Yeah. So that's
And while I can't think of what the wording exactly should be, but I know I need a reason to drive 2 hours to get here for something like this. And what would that be? Will I be able to talk with the people who provide the grants? Why would it be worth my while to come?
I think this is all good conversations, which we can use at our meeting. So put your thinking caps on about wording for the meeting.
And you're welcome. If people have,
Yeah.
we can make this meeting available to the whole board because it's a task force. It's not like we need to, so if people are interested in coming to the next
Mhm.
meeting, hey, the more the merrier. This is coming.
Next one.
We don't have that. That's why I've got my calendar out. That is written in big letters here.
Monday, I think. Don't we?
We
already
never
have-
had it set up. We did not set up. the
On
meeting.
September 11th? Oh.
No.
Okay.
So,
And I have a TCG conference call from 1 to 3,
You're into one?
intercommunication group.
How about noon to
You're into
one?
one?
On Monday.
Absolutely, I can do that. Noon to 1, I'm there.
so how is 9/11? Seems like a terrible day after I said
It
that.
is not.
I know.
It's my wedding anniversary. It is not. We took the day back.
Good, I'm glad.
It is the 12:30 to 1:30 Zoom call.
Can it be 12 to 1?
Yes, I was gonna ask the same thing.
That's fine with me.
I have a meeting I'm running at 12:30 to 1, but
Come from noon.
In person.
Anybody's welcome. Task force members, if you could make it, that'd be great.
Yeah, please do, and please put your thinking caps on for those final things.
Yeah.
And then you'll have talked to the school, you'll have some other information for us by then, so
Yes,
that's
that
great.
means that I gotta do it today.
So, let's talk real quickly about. We still have time. Let's talk about the regional celebrations.
Thank you, Karen, for sending that out.
Yes. And
No,
he just
they're
sent
just right
us-
now internal. No.
This is the working list, Susan.
So we've been going through this now as staff, and we tried to set something in each month after September and October. Um. So as you'll see with what was emailed out, November, we're thinking Racine and Kenosha. Jane, we're thinking about the Racine Arts Council and the Black Arts Council of Racine, but if there are groups in Kenosha that should be part of the planning of that event, it'd be great to know. In December, we're thinking about it either the day before the, the evening before the Arts Board meeting, so the 14th. Or even if it's the afternoon, Chella, we're gonna look to you guys to help us figure out what we should do there.
I had a little chance to talk with Chella about that last night, so you'll check in with a few
So
people.
I'll follow up with the folks and look at what I guess like the competition is and which day is best for us to gather people.
And Jane said, or not Jane, the Arts Councils of Racine both said, yeah, awesome, November would be great. So they're excited too.
Oh, yeah, but if there's a Kenosha voice or voices, we should
Mhm.
include.
Yeah, I've got a few.
In January, we make our normal trek up to the Schwamigan Bay area, and so Lynn reminded us that we should do something in the Lola district. And so we talked last night, and Rhinelander seems like a good choice based on the driving distance, and then also partners in Art Start in Nicolay College. So we'll see as far as timing what works, but January will be north and in both those places. Lacrosse in February, and the local host, we hope to be the Lacrosse Arts Board. And then WIGCOT, and I'll come back to that because that's the last thing on our agenda there. In March, that's part of WIGCOT, we'll come back. April 10th through the 19th is Wausau, so central Wisconsin. And we list out partners in that space. Karen Ann, if you think there's others we should add into the mix,
Sure.
please let us know. And then June or July in Eau Claire. Visit Eau Claire has been really good with the arts, with their sculpture tour, and also just being a partner in our regranting program. So they'll be a great partner for that.
Recommendation, George, can you delete /Sturgeon Bay? It separates Sturgeon Bay from Door County, and
Well,
that's,
I'm sorry, I meant specifically Sturgeon
it
Bay.
may not be Sturgeon.
Oh.
Miller does not want, there's something going on, so it may not
We will
be.
do it. This is
I just
Karen.
don't want the public
To
perception.
be, Oneida needs to have access. They can't go all the way up to. Right, okay, great.
We're just limited as to we're in Sturgeon Bay right now.
And then finally, we're talking about an end of the run event in either July or August. Jumping back up to WIGCOT, the secretary and through Dawn said that they want to make the arts the focus of WIGCOT this year. And so they've invited our participation. Our initial salvo in that has been to put out a message to the chair of the National Endowment for the Arts to attend WIGCOT, not only to attend, but to come speak, be a keynote speaker. And then much like what Bob Lynch did when he was here a decade ago, sit with anybody who wants to come sit and talk arts in a room that's very informal, gives the chair a chance to engage with the people. And then we also offered that she stay for the reception, the governor's reception, and maybe even be there to give the award of the governor's award for arts, culture, and heritage. And then finally, if they'll extend this long, so she'd come in, I should have said, she'll come in Monday for dinner with you, right? So have an informal dinner with the arts board members on Monday night of WIGCOT. Then everything I said up until this point, so the governor's reception, the banquet, and then Wednesday, when WIGCOT is over, we're going to throw her in a car and take her around to rural spaces in Southwest Wisconsin, because one of the things that they encouraged us to do was she doesn't get to see a lot of rural arts. And so that if we could do that, we would do it. The response from the NEA, because it's a process, they said, so is driving gonna be okay in March in Wisconsin? And I said two things. I'm driving, so it'll be all right. And then, we also said, I think Brian was the one that recommended, tell them they're gonna be 1,000 people coming from all around the state.
So we know how to drive.
You know, so it was,
Get this.
let them know that. So it's in the pipeline. They will tell us, you know, we've given them plenty of heads up. So unlike what would have happened if we had this when we were thinking about having it today or tomorrow. But as far as that's concerned, as far as WIGCOT is concerned, one of the things that staff is thinking about is who are the artists that will perform? Is there an artist in residence? If any of that happens, will some of our money pay that? Because the initial reaction was, we'll have artists and they'll donate. And we said, no, the arts board is involved, the artists are getting paid, right? So, but if we pay through money we've received from the National Endowment for the Arts, for example, we will become sponsors of WIGCOT, right? Whether we give them that money to give to the artists or we pay the artists directly. But you should be thinking about, you've been to WIGCOT now a number of times, who should perform? You know, Karen Ann's gonna try to get Matt to get the poet laureate.
And I'm gonna suggest Wade Fernandez, bring him in.
Yeah, there you go. So for example, so as you think about it, think about the artists that would do well in those situations. Some of them would perform before a speaker would speak. Sometimes they've done things where an artist helps move you from one room to the other because they're big, loud drumming events or whatever they are. So we need to think about all kinds of art sprinkled through. And an artist in residence, if all of a sudden they had an installation built by somebody, that would be really cool too. You know, so it's not just about the performing arts. So that's an extraordinarily wonderful offer. It's a continuation of the secretary's move to try to enhance the work they're doing in cultural tourism. And to recognize the arts, which she does naturally. It's part of who she is. But this is a great way of celebrating the Arts Board's 50th. So we welcome it.
We're thrilled with this opportunity at WIGCOT. It really gives us the opportunity to tell our story to a lot of people in rural communities as well, and how to get them to better understand that we're not just an event that takes place in their community during a time, but we are, you know, we're going to have the AEP 6 numbers, the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study numbers by this. So I think it gives us an option to really put some important programming together, and during keynote sessions or breakout sessions to really talk about the true economic impact that tourism is so used to hearing their numbers, but not understanding what our portion of that is and how critical it is.
And I think you raised an important point. We talked about artists, we talked about the chair of the endowment, but the breakout sessions and how the arts are involved in cultural tourism. I'll give you an example. Our friends in the museum world are building a brand for the art museums of the state. And so the Arts Board brought them together to have the conversation. The GEM grants, the Joint Effort Marketing grants, have been funding them coming up with their brand. So as they've worked together, they've worked with Laughlin and Constable, they being 13 art museums in the state, to develop a brand for the art museums of our state. So it's a perfect combination of the arts and tourism working together to make something really important happen. At a time when tourism is really looking to step up its game in the arts.
George, I'm just putting this out there so that it's documented so that I don't forget. Can we look at inviting Ben Davidson?
Yeah, I mean,
As a breakout speaker.
either Ben or Randy, you know, and when we bought into AEP 6, those many years ago, we paid for Randy to come to the state. And so we could make it part of WIGCOT, or it could be another time. So let's think about what's most strategic in that space.
I'm just thinking if we want to get more arts people to that event as well, but I think there are years that I think there's a way to talk about economic impact to make it that tourism people would want to attend as well. So they better understood as we roll out these numbers and we start the PR that this is a big understanding of, you might have missed this within your community or didn't have someone to share this news in your community. This is what this means. Because it's heads and beds, it's visitor spend, this is how much your locals spend, this is how much your visitors spend. It's so critical.
To that point, it'd be I mean, I could see a couple different presentations that are kind of a regional focus of economic development leader, local business, and whatever, like a big arts kind of, you know, like you have an impact in your summer theater, right? And you have, you know, that group all come together and give a panel on the impact economically, and for tourism, et cetera, of this and of this. And this is how you can model that togetherness.
Door County would be a great, and we could get Julie and maybe Michelle from DCEDC and Julie from Destination Door County, and then Holly Feldman attends, I attend. That if you were looking for a panel of talking about this.
So let's,
My vision would be like, if you had multiple region, like
Yeah,
one
that'd be
was
great.
big urban, one
Yeah.
was like, you know, Oak
Yeah,
Cliff.
that's great.
I think we're gonna need to revisit that because we need to go for lunch.
It's a working
We're
lunch. Is it here or is it down?
it's a working lunch. We should grab it and come back here
Okay.
because we're good. We're gonna tell our friends who are in the YouTube space, we're gonna pause and we'll come back when we have our food in hand.
But before we do that, I just want to remind all of us are responsible to reach out to our legislatures and let them know about October 19th and how much we would love to see them, whichever side of the aisle they're on. We would love to see them there.
Are you also doing a blanket? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but again,
Yep.
Yeah, and in fact, do you want to meet me at 4:30 or at 4 for something and then we can go together? I mean, something that just really connects in directly. So it's not just, I hope to see you there from across the
Right.
room, but.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
All right. And just so you know, I mean, if we don't get through the agenda, it is set to where if we need to conclude for 30 minutes at Epic, we've got that time. And right now there's only 45 minutes left in our agenda. So I think we'll be good. That we can get through the majority of this now, because I know we're gonna lose some people who need to get up and so, all right.
I need to leave about 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So-
Like 3:45.
Okay, all right. You do. But we'll go and we'll see as much as is possible and they'll have to have security support as well.
I know.
Right.
I'm the troublemaker.
Oh,
I'm trying to find that article. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna send it to you about that bead artist. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you.
Grab lunch.
I'm sorry I had to leave before the ceremony was over because I had to drive back here, but it was so beautiful and so surprising in such a wonderful way. I was just like, oh my gosh, look at you.
I know. People always look at me and they're like, you?
I
Really?
I had no idea. It just keeps coming. up all the time.
you were an idiot.
No. Crazy.
For you.
You're crazy.
I do get that shocked look a lot.
No. I have to call it noon, but
Not a problem.
then I'll just sneak back in once it's called.
Sounds great. Thank you.
So,
I'll tell George that too. George, I have to hop on a call at noon, but then I'll rejoin as soon as I'm done. All right.
Great.
Oh, we gotta get down there quickly. John, would you run down quick, make sure that everything's taken care of, you know? I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, know where you're going?
I know where it is, but I'm gonna sit here and make sure I've got my email caught up. Gonna have
You're
another.
not gonna eat. That's stupid.
It's not keto, but.
No, yes, I know. Don't do that. Come and eat food.
Sure. this-
Grab some, bring it up here.
Will do. I'll be all right.
You sure?
I'm positive. I'll feel better about having caught the emails.
I just got called out because it was the doctor's office finally calling me.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, finally I heard. I've been waiting for a week.
They run on their own time schedules, that's for sure. How you doing, Dale? Anything going on your end? Oh, good Lord, help me.
Hey, George, we have to pass, if you want to end the meeting and we'll finish there, it's gonna take 20 minutes to get the food, at which point we're all packing and eating down there and then leaving. Sorry.
Yeah, I got cold in here.
So this is gather and go.
I brought snacks because I thought I was gonna be sitting next to you and you always need snacks.
I do. I feel like I could have over ordered down below.
Or just put it in your bag for later.
Great. Gives everybody a map of where the parking is. And look for Milky Way to get to the Epic area, or we can all caravan.
I'm hoping for a caravan myself.
I'm hoping for a caravan as well, but.
Caravan it is.
Yeah, collect me.
Ah, thank you. Thank you for my fancy pin.
Yes,
Very
you're
excited.
welcome.
Yes.
Inspired.
So we're in charge of our own name tags, like magnetic ones, right?
Is that what we're, okay.
I don't know if that's.
Yes, I would love
That's
that
good.
so that I can, yes. Yeah, so that I can use them at another event.
Oh, that's
I would
good.
prefer, like if I go around to Door County things, I'll wear it. Because then I'm not wearing a Peninsula Players pen at some other.
Well, and I have the big one that I wear that has both, but it's like, yeah, that's awkward.
Have to be at the desk at one. And it's a 5-minute walk from the parking lot.
The Hilton, yes.
Yeah.
I like how Susan said, heaven forbid if we're late.
Oh, really?
About Epic. There's some-
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah, I didn't think, I thought we'd explored everything possible.
Trying to get anywhere, so.
Is your wife available to control?
Yeah, her jewelry and.
I can't imagine she's concerned about these.
But there's not a significant change in the duties.
Anybody, if Susan asks, I'm putting her
Oh,
jewelry in her.
Yeah.
okay. But follow Bill.
No.
Oh, yes, I tried that. I have tried that. and
These are
yet, at
spaces?
some point,
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much I can bounce Caitlin's up. Yeah, she does what she does. I mean, otherwise she's like, and then how, yeah.
Yeah, I can
So
help in.
I
Holly-
would love that.
and
That
Holly
would be
helps too.
completely awesome.
I'd love that too, Matt.
Yeah.
Or just get the right person there.
Yeah,
Maybe
so as people are walking down, they're not going anywhere without me. I think we do.
George, you get a salad bar. Did you get the news?
Oh, I said no, thank you.
Food at all?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'll grab a muffin or something, ride me over.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry it worked out that way, but.
That your phone?
No, this is the first.
Oh,
one.
okay. I kept hearing one during the meeting.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
The tone, please record your message. When you finish recording, press 1 for more options.
Hi, calling you back. This is Karen from the Arts Board. We are doing our best to get on the road at 12:30, so we see you at 1 at the desk. If you, I didn't listen to your message. We've been in the meeting the whole time.
Grab anything from here? Okay,
So,
go down to the
I
cafeteria.
didn't catch you. Bye. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't miss anything.
Okay. Can you help me remember to ask a couple questions about the December board meeting before we leave of everybody?
Yep.
Hi, it's Karen.
Hey Karen, it's Michael Chvati, how's it going?
Good.
Good, glad to hear it, thanks for giving me a ring. I wanted to check in with you about the parking situation for your business.
Okay.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the board member.
That is how it has evolved, yes.
Okay. Accurate, the next part, one of our two surface ones. And then we're gonna have some air shovels for you, to bring you to the conference room.
Awesome. Okay. So we'll just go straight from the parking lot to the conference room and not check in any visitors room? Or we'll all gather to the guests? Okay.
I can give you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
If the tour is quick enough, you can make that happen.
Sure.
But yeah, just with the parking situation, we thought this is the way to do it, and then that shuttle will also bring you back.
That's very kind. You guys are amazing. So I'm gonna go to the guest parking lot that I always go to, which is the one with all of the solar panels. Is that right?
No,
Suit.
I think you.
Okay.
Sort of updated directions, and it's going to lead you to a surface level parking lot on our farm campus.
Oh, got it. So before we get to Milky Way?
Yeah, so you're gonna go onto Epic Lane, and then you're going to take an earlier right than you would otherwise.
Oh, so we're gonna do Milky Way, but we're gonna go not up to the Yoda parking area. Oh, I'm trying to get this bigger and it's just not working for me.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
can
Cause I'm looking at it too.
It didn't open, but.
It did, I mean, I thought it opened. It looks like it's taking us to the Zodiac parking ramp.
Right.
And that looks like what you had sent before. Yeah, I don't see a
Well,
different version.
it's a split off to a smaller lot, it looks like, not the full Zodiac.
Okay, so I think what I sent might actually be the instructions from the small lot to the new parking lot. Is that right?
From visitor parking to farmyard surface parking lot.
Yeah, that farmyard service parking lot is where you guys are where the shuttles are gonna be waiting for you.
So,
Trying to figure out where-
so we're gonna, sorry, this has been a fairly.
Oh,
intense
here's the
meeting,
farmyard,
too.
the
So we're-
farmyard parking lot, this thing. Right here, this is green, farmyard parking lot. But it's underground, that's what that one says. You said it's a surface lot.
This is the surface lot. The problem we're running into is that the lot with the solar panels is completely full today.
You know what? It's not a problem. As long as you guys are gentle with us about not getting there right at 1, then that stress relief is immediate. And we'll get there as soon as we can and figure it all out, as long as we don't feel like we are inconveniencing you and the work that you guys wanted to do at 1:15. I mean, we'll get there as soon as we can, but there may be a little more wackiness until we all connect.
Yeah, but it would
It's
be
just-
helpful to know where there is.
I know it would be helpful. So exit left out of the visitor parking lot, and I'm not actually sure where the visitor parking lot is that's referenced here. Continue straight on Milky Way past the Learning Center, down the hill to intersection with Epic Lane.
Okay, there's Epic Lane.
Take
yeah.
a left at the intersection on Epic Lane, take the first left toward the farm campus. Follow the road to the farmyard surface parking lot. After parking at Epic Shuttle Band, which is awesome, we'll take you to Andromeda Reception. Yeah, I don't see it either.
Those instructions that you just read out, that's the packet of information that reception gives to folks who arrive and
Okay,
can't find a parking spot.
okay.
So it takes you from roughly where reception is to that overflow parking. But if you're able to, you should be able to just go to that overflow parking lot straight from the highway.
Perfect. We'll
Right,
figure it
so,
out.
so
Yep.
we'll come in
Oh,
on
I see.
Epic
I
Lane.
didn't- Yeah, I didn't scroll deeply enough. Okay.
But the only thing that I'm not seeing is the surface lot that you're describing.
It's right here on this one.
That's an underground lot.
It's a surface lot, farmyard surface lot parking. So it's up above and down below, I guess.
Yeah, okay, you got a
Yeah,
very different
that's
map
correct.
than
There's an up and a
Those-
down.
those-
You're seeing the employee one, I'm seeing the visitor one. Okay. Alrighty, so I'm sorry, what is the name of the right that we're gonna take before Milky Way?
It's before Milky Way. I'm actually not sure of the road name. Let me open up my computer. Kind of
Yeah, it's this thing.
Set up now.
So we're gonna
Yeah,
come
I'm
in,
wondering what the name is.
yeah, I understand, but, so we're gonna come in from
take a
the
left,
belt
do all the
line.
thing,
up in there. But,
And Epic Farm will be on our left. We'll figure it out, Michael. We're just, I'm having this conversation with you right after we realized that lunch was taking longer than it was expected to take and all of that stuff. So,
Sure. No,
so-
no, I get it. Looks like the road to that surface lot doesn't actually have a name.
okay, that's so unusual for you guys.
I know it is. So when you guys, if you take 151, you're gonna take the normal exit, you're gonna get off at, I think it's, big sign for Epic Lane, maybe exit 76. If memory serves, you're going to take a left onto Epic Lane.
Yep.
Like you normally would if you're going to Milky Way. When you're on Epic Lane, there's gonna be a farm on your left.
And we
then
take the
kind of
right.
Immediately across the road, you take the right.
Yep. Got it. Okay, we will find our way there and I'll just call you when we're there. Well, there will be a shuttle waiting for us, is what I'm hearing. Or no?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. And I am going to put your name into or your phone into my cell phone.
and Michael, there are a couple of board members that might have to release early to get to meetings, so getting them back to the lot will be,
Something I could do.
okay.
Yeah, I'm working with our shuttle drivers to make sure that the rides back to that lot are set up in advance.
All right.
Oh, you're
appreciate it so
awesome.
much.
You're awesome. Thank you for bearing with the fluster. It's been a good
No,
but rather
not a problem.
intense
Thank you.
meeting. All righty, thank you
Yeah.
so much and we'll see you in we'll see you as planned. I'm sure of it.
Sounds good.
All right, take care. Bye.
Adele, are you there? Can you hear me? If you are, unmute. There, okay, nice to unmute. All right, hang on, I gotta unmute myself, I think. All right, go for it. Are you talking? Yeah,
Yep,
you are.
I'm here.
Okay, so lunch is gone overtime, which means we're not gonna rejoin the meeting until later this afternoon, if at all.
Okay.
So if you can stop the recording completely. And I'll stop YouTube as well.
phone. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, recording is stopped.
How to do the YouTube, except probably just to get out of there. All right, I just signed out of the YouTube, so that should be enough. See, Aaron, the instruction of this is that originally Susan said she was going to give us all a menu in advance so that we could, and that's the same thing that we learned when I said about the school of music thing she had.
She has too many balls in here, so we
So
just need
it's-
to take them away.
Or
And
if,
leave a few.
or keep picking them up and throwing them out for her.
Absolutely, whatever works. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she said that she had talked with her staff about encouraging really simple. And she said, that's why I was talking with people about those salad bars, and I wish that you had talked a little louder. Because nobody heard you say that, so they all ordered off the menu, because that's what was their understanding. And the girl was like, oh yeah, I'll be about 20 minutes, and this is 10 minutes after 12. Before it's all done, so it might be all done now, she might have been hedging her bets, but it's fine, it is all fine, it's just,
Well,
I'm feeling a tiny little bit crabby at Epic for forcing it to be, it has to be this, da. And I appreciate the heck out of the fact that they're actually doing it, so I'm gonna stop being crabby.
No, but I understand because it seems as though we could be in the position of inconveniencing them for having done it. And in that respect, then tell us this is not a good day.
Yeah, right. And I really do want them to see it, so I'm okay with being inconvenienced, because it's gonna be awesome. And we get shuttles, so hey.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So, there are I have a few of the metal name badges that I'm holding on to for our December meeting in my computer bag. And, otherwise, this little box can just go away, and I'm just gonna leave it here to be gone away.